Proteins are actually compounds that are composed of the amino acid that are linked up in chain. Okay, they are linked up in chains that actually forms the proteins, and about they are composed of about 70% of the dry weight of the fish mass. Okay, so the entire mass of the fish is composed of the protein. Now, this gives a fish a lot of advantages over other animals that you may think of. That fish has got so much content when it comes to proteins. So, look at the proteins. We see the proteins as being one of the dietary requirement in every diet or nutrients. Okay, nutrient that is needed by the fish. So, when you are a feed manufacturer, or you are planning to venture into starting actually making up producing fish feed, you should also actually consider how important proteins are in every aspect of nutrition. So be it in animals, be it also in human beings. Okay, they require proteins for the reason that proteins are there to actually help us in terms of growth and also maintenance of our other tissues and cells that may actually own out in our own body. Because as we keep on surviving and protecting ourselves from various predation and other things in search of food, our tissues actually may actually get damaged, or they can actually be expired, and they need some kind of the system to replace itself, and the compound or the organic compound that performs that kind of replacement and repairing of the cells and the tissues are the proteins. So therefore, we see the importance of proteins and amino acids in every aspect of living creature, or more especially in fish, as we are talking about. So they are essential for the growth and maintenance of the fish. Okay, so the other thing, so why are proteins required in fish? Okay, so now before we get into the reason as to why proteins are required in fish, you must be able to understand that there are two categories of proteins. Okay, and these categories are as follows. We have what is known as the indispensable amino acid, proteins, or rather amino acid if you like, and also dispensable amino acids. Now, these kind of proteins, they function differently. Okay, when you talk about indispensable amino acid as well as also dispensable amino acids, then when you talk about those that the fish cannot actually manufacture or be able to produce at the rate at which actually the growth and maintenance requires them to be ready for the normal functioning, for the optimal functioning. So we see that there is a time constraint. Okay, the rate at which the indispensable amino acids are produced does not actually meet the rate at which growth requires them, as well as the rate at which maintenance requires them to be ready. So therefore, as a fish farmer or someone who is actually want to get into the practicing of manufacturing of feeds, or more especially either chicken feed or fish feed, you would also want to understand, or rather actually take note, that the proteins must be supplemented. Okay, the fact that the fish cannot actually obtain their optimal, okay, from the process of whatever biological processes, the synthesis of proteins within the cells, it cannot actually compensate to how much the fish would actually want the proteins to be ready for the repairment, for the replacement, and for the growth and maintenance. So, as a fish farmer, we actually now find a way out in which we can actually provide the external, or actually the artificial feeds that we can supplement to the fish. So we have talked about the indispensable amino acid as well as the dispensable amino acids. So take note of the differences. So when you talk about dispensable amino acids, these are not normally essential for the fish. So they quite actually manufacture them by themselves. So the amount of the dispensable is not really so much cardinal as compared to the amount of indispensable amino acids. So take note of these concepts that I've talked about. So, and according to the scientific research, there has been about 200 amino acids have been discovered, but only 20 of them has been recognized as the common ones, and then further now, the 20 have been actually divided into indispensable and dispensable amino acids. So the 10 for indispensable and the 10 for dispensable amino acids. Okay, so there are few that I can actually mention to you, but you can just Google them about those amino acids that we need to include when actually making fish feed, so that we can actually, compensate for what the fish lacks, and we can do that actually by sourcing out some of the ingredients, that may have the component of protein that we may need. Now, this tells you the reason why fish is nowadays becoming so expensive each and every single day is because the fish cannot actually manufacture